I am ready. Near, that was fantastic. I put a little comment about somebody has to defend stacked bar charts because I wholly agree they have problems, but I think they are unfairly criticised. I'm going to leave it at that for here because the scope for this talk isn't going to do it. But I think I could write an entire book on the topic. Anyway, right.
Defend the
Am I
purpose,
ready to go,
right?
Alex?
Defend the purpose.
Exactly. Are we ready to go, Alex? Shall I kick off? All right.
Yeah, kick off.
Hi, everybody. I've got one other response to Near as well, so I've just very quickly put a slide. Stephen Few was an absolute genius who inspired me and to get into this field. But this quote, he and I argued about offline, and in fact in a very long blog that he wrote to kind of try and trash my reputation. Data visualization and data art are separate. In my opinion, that is a very big no. What I think is that data visualization is an umbrella term that contains data art and data for sense making. You know, if you look at the work of Leonardo and data journalists and data artists, you know, people, Manuel Lima, you know, pure artists, they are taking information and representing it on a visual plane. That is data visualization. Their goal is not to make maximum sense of it, but it's still data visualization. So I had a many a crossword with Stephen Few about that, but it's still, but that doesn't discount any of the things Near just told you, because all of those decisions are absolutely vital. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about dashboards. So I'm Andy Cotgreave. As I said in the panel, I've been with Tableau for 12 years, been using Tableau for 16 years, and I've been building dashboards for 18 years. Holy cow. In 2017, I co-wrote the Big Book of Dashboards with Steve and Jeff, and had a great time doing this. So we're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about dashboards. Why do we need a keynote about dashboards? Well, the answer to that question is also, well, why do we need a book about dashboards? Going back to why did Steve, Jeff, and I decide to write the Big Book of Dashboards? Let me show you why. This is a genuine dashboard built actually internally in Tableau. Unfortunately, it's a bit embarrassing. Is this a good dashboard? Does this do anything for the people that are trying to look at this thing? Absolutely. Well, yes, thank you, Alex, right? It's absolutely appalling. The person who built this knew how to use Tableau. They understood data, but they had not thought about what they were trying to do. And this comes back to what Near was trying to think. How do you think about the goals in order to add value? So that's why we wanted to do a book about dashboards. And what we decided to be inspired by was Austin Kleon, who wrote this book, Steal Like an Artist. Austin Kleon's, he's an artist, but he was like, look, the best way to learn and develop your own skills is by looking at and copying and emulating without plagiarizing the work of others. So that's what you kind of find in the Big Book of Dashboards, and we'll look at some in a minute. But the question I'm going to challenge you all with today is, well, what exactly is a dashboard? Near talked about it a little bit. I want to think, why do we need them and how do they add value? And to do that, we're going to play a game. It's the best game I've ever come up with. It's called, Is It a Dashboard? And you can use the chat to play along here. I'm going to go relatively quickly, so feel free to add comments. I'll see what I can do to keep on top of the chat in Zoom. But you know, we put a bunch of real world actual dashboards into the book, and I'm going to dive into a few of them to challenge what we're trying to do when we build dashboards, and does it fit to the received wisdom? Again, Stephen Few had a very big impact on the definition of a dashboard, and I'll show you our definition right at the end, again, to show our sort of counterbalance to what he dictated the industry did. Okay, so this is the first one. This is by Simon Beaumont, who's now a Tableau visionary. I've already got a yes and a no to is this a dashboard. This shows patient information for a hospital in for a hospital trust in the UK. Right, now, what's going on here? we'll have to explain here. Each row in this dashboard shows information about a patient on the ward at that hospital at any given time. This is where they were admitted, and then the dots represent the timeline of times that patient was seen by a health visitor outside of hospital. Red was when they were in hospital, and then blue is when they left hospital. And this person has been basically seen every day and has returned back to hospital today. This patient has been seen by a different team intermittently over several weeks and has come to hospital today. And this one has been in and out of hospital multiple times. Now, some of you are already making an opinion. Is this a dashboard, yes or no? The reason I think people will be saying no is that what you can't see is overall business KPIs. You can't see, how is the NHS business trending, right? It's very disaggregated and granular. The reason we included this in the book is because it proves a really important point about what we think a dashboard should be. The way this, Anita says it's not a good dashboard. Right, now, aesthetically, perhaps not, but this transformed how nurses could behave and plan patient success on the wards in their hospitals. Previously, these dots would have only been accessible on multiple screens, and they'd had to click on each one to see the information of that visit. In this case, all that information was aggregated into a single place to show a timeline for each patient, so that the nurses on the field in the ward could plan a health response to get the patient healthy enough to be discharged, because that's the goal in the NHS. And the reason this was a success was because it collated all that information into one place, but it was a success because it is a disaggregated monitoring tool. The people running the NHS Trust, yeah, they want to see overall KPIs and big ass numbers and the summaries, but the people down at the bottom want to see granulated, disaggregated data. This is the same in hospitals. If you're in a call center, you don't want to see overall performance. You want to see the customer single point of view. So this one, if you say no, that's awesome. This is good. I like the debate. Keep saying no if you feel no, but it worked for the NHS Trust. And the goal here is think about that disaggregation. Okay, the second one, we're going to go to the Financial Times, and this is a web page. US economy statistics at a glance. So we're seeing a picture of the US economy here. Now, when you visit the site, you can joyfully scroll down to see loads of charts. And then you can keep scrolling to see loads more charts. And you've scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. And in fact, if you take the picture of the entire dashboard, this is what it looks like. Look at all that information. Is it a dashboard? Alexi says no. Hey, I love it. So Alexi says no. N, good name, also says no. Right. Why did we include this in the big book of dashboards? Raphael says no. Excellent. I love it. You're all fighting against me today. In fact, it looks like, oh, we've got all no so far. Okay. Why do we include it? The world is moving to mobile, where scrolling using your thumb is just absolute second nature. And this is a way we can challenge the perceived wisdom. A lot of people say, oh, dashboard should fit on a single screen. That was Stephen Few. But with mobile views, things are completely optimized so that we can actually view dashboards through that scrolling window. When you go to this on mobile, it actually behaves slightly differently. Harsh says it's more like a report. I love that line. I love it when somebody says that. I've been in this field 20 years. I'm still not entirely clear what the difference between a report and a dashboard is, because you can go to 20 different businesses and they'll all give you 20 different definitions about that. So some of you might say a dashboard should fit on a single screen. And then it's like, okay, if it's a single screen, well, I'll just get rid of everything else and I'll just leave those 4 panels in the middle. Is it now a dashboard because it fits on a single screen? Perhaps it is. And it's like, well, okay, but then really I haven't changed it. I've just changed how much information there is. Another aspect about single page, and this one goes to Cassia's comment, who said it's more like a newspaper, is in November 2017, they actually printed the entire thing on a single page in the Financial Times. So if you just took that single page, is it a dashboard now? Right? You know, one of the great things about Stephen Few style dashboards, what Stephen Few projected in his books about dashboards, was that you could create a single screen or page or handout or PDF that gave an entire overview of an organization. You know, imagine giving this to the CEO or the CFO and saying, here is the picture of your organization. This is a visual display to monitor information about an organization. I think the world has moved away from Stephen Few style dashboards, which are dense, information dense pieces of things. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because sometimes you want to give somebody the full overview so that they can pore over it and spend time looking at that dashboard. They don't all have to be instantly understandable unless that's the need. They don't have to be. Raphael says, Alexi says it's not dynamic. Well, is that important? I mean, I might be able to get a 1 week snapshot. And if my CEOs, some people need printouts of dashboards. I was at a conference yesterday learning about how they do data analytics on the battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan. They cannot rely on their technology working out in the field. So they print out their dashboards in order to be sure they work when they're out in the dusty fields. You know, it's not but dynamic because it's not relevant for the thing. Relitza, your question is excellent. What data, viz, or text? Data, viz, or text, actually. So, you know, that is a whole other talk, because there's a bit of a trend towards turning your information into paragraphs, but I'm going to go out of that one. All right. So the purpose here is, with this one, is for me to challenge this. Should the dashboard fit on a single screen or not? Should it be dynamic or not? And how much information should we put on? All right, dashboard number 3. I've got one more after this. This one's by Andy Kirk, brilliant guy behind visualizingdata.com, and he did this dashboard for a Premier League football team. What it shows is a single player's performance in recent matches, and in fact all matches over a season. If I just zoom into the top 2 rows, each row represents a metric that is recorded for that player in a match that they do. So total distance run in a match. The yellow dot is the most recent match. So you can see in the previous match, this player didn't run as far as they did in other matches. The red dots are the last 5 matches, and the grey dots are all the matches in the season. So we can see that in the last match, this player didn't run as far as they have done, but high intensity run distance, like sprinting, was about average. And then there's a bit of details about how that ranked for themselves and where they ranked in the team for that match. And we've got lots of things: sprint distance, the number of sprints, accelerations, top speed, and recovery time. All right. What do we think? Is this one a dashboard? Is this one not? Is this useful? It's not dynamic. Yes, it's ugly. Excellent. Yes, Manita. So, now, Relita, you've said yes to this one. Why is this one a dashboard, but the others were not? I am interested to understand your thinking. Some people often say no, because it's really just a single chart, right? It's just a chart with a bunch of rows on it. It is simple and clear. That is true, Sir Serpil. Here's the thing that is genius about this dashboard. They designed this dashboard to be delivered to the players as they arrived at the training session after the last match. So they would all turn up, sit down for breakfast, and on their devices, they would all get their personal dashboard about their performance in that match. Now, what's great about that concept of how to deliver data for value is that they knew the players would then be sitting at the breakfast table comparing and competing with their metrics. And so it's a great way to bring the dashboard to the people at the time that's relevant. That's wonderful. The other thing is, total distance is not actually a KPI that is important for a football team. It's, did they win the match, right? You know, this player could have run 50 miles, but just done it up and down the sideline and scored nothing. And why this is great is because it means the players would have these conversations and be like, oh, hey, Alex, I ran 20 kilometers more than you this match and you only ran 5. Great. But then Alex would say, yeah, but I scored 2 goals. And so what it did is generate this data-driven conversation that could add value to what the coaches and the players were learning through the sort of the lived experience of doing things. So very much a dashboard. It's not interactive. It doesn't change. I mean, it changes week on week. You can't interact with it, but there's some really cool little things in here. All right. It helps foster conversation. Maybe not make this. Maybe you can't make so many decisions from this, but you can certainly generate a conversation. All right. When writing the Big Book of Dashboards, it turned out that Steve, Jeff, and I each wrote a chapter that the other two didn't like enough for it to get into the book. Difficult conversations to have to say, well, Steve, you know what? We don't like that chapter, but we each have one chapter like that. And the final dashboard I'm going to show you is a dashboard that got, is a dashboard that got cut. This is my deleted scene. Now, Masha, I just see, says, starting to think everyone has different definitions for a dashboard. Masha, you are getting to the final point I'm going to make. That's right. And that is what we have to take forward as analysts. How the hell do we define these things? I don't know. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Robert loves this deleted scene. So here it is. So there's a company in the US called Crisis Text Line. And they are like Samaritans. They do emergency counseling for people who are severely depressed and even suicide risks. And instead of doing that on the phone, they do it via SMS and text and WhatsApp. So people get in touch with Crisis Text Line when they're in a moment of crisis. And Crisis Text Line's job is sometimes literally to try and get that person to step back from the ledge, right? So it's a really, really critical function to save lives. And I wrote, this is the Word document that contains the chapter that I wrote. And Steve and Jeff said, nah, we can't put it in the Big Book of Dashboards. So here's the dashboard that I wanted to go in the book. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will see, well, hang on, Andy, that's Slack. That's an instant messaging chat system. I'm like, yeah, it is. If we zoom in, these are the dashboards. So what's going on here is Bob Philbin, who was the data officer at Slack at the time, stripped out all the dashboards. He was like, you do not need to go to some page to see the dashboards. Instead, we're going to stay in Slack, which is where they did their sort of counseling text lines. And you can just type a command to bring up the KPIs for that day as and when you need them. Is this a dashboard or not? It's just a text-based response to robots, to a command in Slack. So Hemant says no. Right. So this is what Steve Relitza says yes. Love it, but we don't think it's insight, a dashboard. And that's Sophia. That's right. It's fast insight with minimal effort, and it is keeping you in the flow of your workplace role. Right. The more I need you to go and log on somewhere else to see the KPIs, the less time you are spending doing your job. Anya, I will answer your question in a moment. So Steve and Jeff said, look, it can't be in the book. They agree it's an amazing monitoring system, but it was just a bit too far from what our concept of a dashboard was for the book. Perhaps if they'd shown the same information like this with a bit of KPI errors for something is underperforming, perhaps they could have included it. I think this is a genius solution to business monitoring. I don't have to leave where I already am. Obviously, I don't know whether these are good numbers, but if you're an employee, you know whether 267 out of 1,516 is good and what your KPI for quality is or is not. But it keeps the information into the place. So It's a set of bands, but doesn't look like a dashboard, says Ida. All right, we have taken a journey through 4 dashboards. And here's the thing that I learned over my years of developing these things. It's really hard to answer this question. So my answer to the question is this. What the heck is a dashboard? I'm going to take you to San Francisco, where you can walk into the head office of Wells Fargo. And here's me with RJ Andrews, Info We Trust, standing in front of a genuine Wells Fargo stagecoach, pointing at this leather and wood thing. This is a dashboard. It is a board of wood or leather that was designed to stop water and mud dashing onto the stagecoach driver's feet. When the first cars were created in the early 20th century, even though they were unnecessary, they were built with these things on the front, so they looked like stagecoaches and didn't frighten people. And then somebody said, well, now we've got this board in front of us, I'm going to stick a gauge on it for speed or oil, and we'll call that a dashboard. So this is what a dashboard is, right? It's a word that came from the world of stagecoaches. So how does that help me or you as a data analyst trying to add value in your organization? Well, okay, so here's the answer. The answer is, what is a dashboard? It depends. You don't need to worry about the definition of a dashboard. You need to think about, does it fit the goal and does it add value? And this is where I lead right back to what Neil was saying. Does your dashboard have the right information, tailored for the right audience, delivered it in the form factor to the smartphones or the browser or the TV screen or on paper, so that they can get the insight they need in the shortest time possible? Now, some people say that's so generic, it's almost like Duchamp saying a urinal is a toilet. And it's like, yeah, it is. You know, this is art. Sorry, Duchamp said what? A urinal is art. That's what he said. Yes, it's a vague term, because as we've seen, and as I see into your comments today, it's really hard to define what a dashboard is. It's really hard to define what data visualization is. So the thing you need to be answering is, does it add value? In the end, the definition that we put in our book is this. A dashboard is a visual display of data used to monitor conditions and or facilitate understanding. It's 15 words that are really vague, right? That covers a huge gamut of possible things. Stephen Few decided he would write a 3,000-word blog post destroying this definition, saying we were doing a disservice to the field. Thank you, Steve. But we hold true to this, right? Your goal is to get information to the relevant audience, optimized for them so that they can get their insight as quick as possible. And there you go. That's it. All right. So that's the thing. So we have looked. So I wrote a book all about dashboards. We have looked at what they are and what they add value. We have all had opinions about the things we see, whether they're dashboards or not. Each one of the ones we have seen have been very successful in their implementation, but coming at them new, you're like, well, that challenges what I'm thinking. But the purpose is do the right thing for the right people so they get the insight as quickly as possible. There you go. I guess we have a couple of minutes for questions. I can see one from Bartos, so I'll take those. But otherwise, yeah, feel free to put some questions in. So I see Robert says, used to be a Stephen Few fan, but I like your beliefs challenge. Yeah, Stephen Few literally put me on this path. I met him in 2009, blew me away. But I came to realize that his views were slightly too rigid, and that the world can have bigger, be more flexible than perhaps he defined. Bartos, you say, does it have to be a typical charty dashboard? Do you feel that many business users would benefit with a more static report like the FT one? Yeah, right. I mean, this is where I say, even though, you know, I give Stephen Few sometimes a hard time for being a bit too rigid in what data visualization is, this style of dashboard can be really important, and we don't see this enough in the field anymore. We love this Figma style dashboards, you know, they look gorgeous, but if you know your C-suite have 25 questions that I ask all the time, you can build this kind of thing and have dashboarding success. Again, it's hard work to build this, but you might find that's useful. Okay, are there any more questions? Alex?
Oh, Andy, thank you for your awesome speech. And really, I'm impressed by this dashboard by Wells Fargo. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite a joy seeing that in San Francisco when I was there. If people want to follow me, I'll put these links in the chat and on Slack. I have a newsletter you can subscribe to, and you'll get information about that for Chart Chat. Perhaps new books along the way and training courses. So subscribe to that. And these, I think, are my 4 favorite books to get you jump started in your career if you're new in your field of analytics.